Okay, so we've got the 7. Well, no, okay, major arcanas are not showing up in the first 4 cards. So, and as to describe them, so I would say they're not that high up. Okay, so I don't think they're a Khazarian. I don't even think they are a Khazarian. I feel like they might be a double agent. So posing as a Khazarian mafia, but maybe working for the White Hats here. Okay, and I'm going to pull 2 more clarifiers to find out if, so they're working for 2, they're a double agent. And of course, a lot of the stories about the person do indicate that they have a lot of connections to the spy world. Okay, so it makes sense that they'd be a double agent. Okay, yeah. So we'll have a look into, are the White Hats one of those people they're working for? But they're definitely like a double agent of some kind. And here we've got involved in the war. They know about it, but they're not absolutely. Okay, so that looks like it answers the question. So they know about the war between the deep state, dark cult, and the White Hat Alliance. They know about it, but so this is them. They're keeping a distance or a safe distance, but they know about it. And they kind of play both sides. So the person plays both sides. So I feel like both sides might use them because it really sounds like they have a lot of contacts. So I could understand they could be used by both sides. This person is a double agent. Okay, so they're not necessarily high up in the Khazarian mafia, and they're not necessarily really connected to the White Hats, but they get used for information on both sides. Okay, so here we've got the Judgment card here. I feel like when they do really, when you do a really deep dive, and as we go forward with knowing more about this person and as things get uncovered, there is going to be a big spotlight. So they tend to spotlight, and I feel like they will be using this person as a spotlight for how the migration has been taken over, or the immigration. Okay, I'm almost, I got this weird feeling to call it migration, but anyway, I know there's a difference between immigration and migration, but just, I don't know why my intuition keeps saying call it migration, but anyway. Okay, so somebody in the comments, if you think you know why I'm doing that, let me know, because I have no clue. That's how intuition works. Okay, so see that Judgment card? Yeah, there's going to be a huge focus that comes out of this that's really necessary in the war, and for people, for wake-up call. This is a wake-up call card. Okay, so a lot of what is uncovered in this whole story, okay, that they're telling about this guy and why they're highlighting him so much, okay, is because something he's doing or part of his activities are going to highlight deep state activities. That's what it looks like. But he's being used for both sides. Both sides have used, he's worked on both sides of the fence. And both sides are aware of this guy, and he's connected to both sides. So this card says there's a lot more to this story. More will come out. There'll be more focus. They're just getting you to focus on something, and they're starting out with the background story of this guy, but it's really going to lead you somewhere else. Okay, so that's the kind of convoluted answers I've been getting for days now. So I'm just going to warn you. Okay, the Wacky Woo show is an example of, right now we're in the thickest weeds of this war. There's no yes and no answers. Everything's layered and layered and layered and convoluted at this point. Okay, so don't shoot the messenger. It's frustrating, I get it. I feel like it has something to do with the retrograde going on in Venus, and or the overshadow of the near to come retrograde in Venus. I have to look up, did it already start already? I can't remember. And the other thing, it's just astrological in general. I feel like all the Pisces, activated Pisces right now, and going back and forth and not really in the best placements. I feel like that has something to do with it. It's astrological as well, where everything's really thick fog right now. So it is frustrating. So you're not alone if you're finding the answers with the cards frustrating. Okay, we're all finding that, but I'm just going to do my best to read what I get. Okay, bear with me there, guys. We're going through, this is the hyper novelty stage. We're in it. It's crazy out there. Okay. And we're just going to have to walk through this together, trust deeply in our own selves. Okay. I'm not trying to be anybody's guru. I'm not trying to be your leader. I'm just trying to help us walk through this with my gifts. And I'm absolutely walking through it with you. Okay. Just so you know what I think about what I'm doing. Okay. So that was interesting. We've got number 2. Now, this one's also really a little convoluted. So you're going to have to stick with me here. Wildfires reported in New York State. Okay, so I looked at this last night on the Wacky Woo. By the way, that show was, even though it was a frustrating show, apparently, according to reports, people are saying, okay, no questions were actually answered. It's true. Okay, but it did get us further down the rabbit holes, and I guess that's what the universe thought we needed. Okay, so I trust the universe that way. But anyway, go and watch it for yourself because it is worth watching. And it got number 2 on the leadership board, if that means anything. that was impressive. Anyway, so the wildfires, and they're calling it wildfires. Okay, nobody believes these are set. Nobody believes these are wild. These are set fires. Okay, it's the wrong time of year for wildfires. Nothing about them looks like wildfires. Okay, we got that scenario again. And what I got quickly was, I'll say, this is a combination of white hat and deep state activity. Okay, so it's very much like what was going on in LA. We've got cover-ups, we've got people trying to get rid of their evidence. Some of the areas being burnt are, again, really wealthy people's homes. We know that the Epstein files will eventually, I believe they'll eventually come out, regardless what everybody's saying. I think it's all, they're just keeping everybody in suspense, and there's a reason why they're doing that. Okay, I don't always know what the reason is, but I feel like there's a plan to that with the white hats. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the fires here. So the fires are doing a couple of different things, and a couple of different people are responsible. So I think not just people, but groups. So I don't feel like it's just strictly white hat or the bad guys. Okay, I feel like this is a combination, just like in LA, like I said, and the white hats are likely going in there cleaning up things. And one of the things they might be cleaning up is, so one of the areas is called, let me get this right here, Montauk. Okay, yeah, that word, Montauk, that area. Okay, and it's famous in conspiracy world for being the site of, or the place where the Montauk Project was ongoing for many years. Okay, so somebody wrote to me, or they actually wrote this in the comments. You can find this on the community page, what the person wrote. Okay, and they seem to know a lot about it. I found it a great comment, by the way. Thank you for that comment. Okay, so the Montauk area is known for this project, and this guy named Duncan Cameron, MK Ultra master, apparently. So obviously a deep state scumbag. Okay, and one of those Khazarian mafia types. Okay, obviously he experimented on children for many, many years, and there was a whole project going on there where they, created these MK Ultra peoples out of the, children, probably sent them out to do all kinds of disgusting things, or to create all kinds of things. Here's Betty. Betty's weighing in on it here. Anyway, so many reasons why they create these MK Ultra beings. Okay, not just to be sex slaves to the elites, but also to go out and do things like killing presidents, etc. But anyway, so this project all centered around that area. So it's very interesting that it's mentioned in the wildfires. Okay, and so what the person was thinking was maybe it's to either draw attention to this area, get you going down these rabbit holes. Okay, that's one thing. It's very likely because it did that for me. And because this person mentioned it, I went down the rabbit holes. Okay, so that could be one thing. But the other thing is the TV series Stranger Things is said to have been sort of based on it. And that's scary if you think about it. If they base Stranger Things on it, that show got so convoluted and scary for me. I had to stop watching it. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it was too real and too MK Ultra. I was starting to feel like I was getting altered watching it. I mean, it was horrifying. Okay, so it's supposed to be based on that Montauk project. Okay, so what I'm asking is that true? Is Stranger Things based on that project? And the other question I'm going to say is the fires a cover up to cover up the evidence, or is it the white hats going in there trying to get us to look into these things? Okay, which one is it? White hat in that area, or is that the bad guys? And I got to give Betty a little pet here. Okay, Betty, you got to move, sweetie. Yeah, you got it. Hang on. Betty doesn't really like getting moved too good. She's quite the queen, okay? Betty the queen. All right, let's have a look. So is it this project, okay? Is it what Stranger Things is based on, the Montauk project? And go check it out. I did share the one thing I was shared with. So the person that shared that on the community page shared this podcast. It's a podcast. It's not a video. But the second half of this, or towards the end of this one, is when they talk about this Montauk project. The first half, I listened to it and it was fascinating. But the first part, that'll take a whole nother show. That's fantastic. And it's about the Philadelphia experiment, which is, of course, fascinating as well. Okay, but the second part of that is the Montauk project. So that'll give you a little reference if you want to go listen to that. That's on my Telegram. Let's have a look here. Stranger Things, is it based on that project? Wow, we've got the devil. Whoa. Okay, the devil is, so I'm going to say yes. Major arcana, three of them, actually. 3 major arcanas and 1 minor arcana so far. So that's a big old yes. And I would even go as far as to say it wasn't a white hat operation, Stranger Things. It was a deep state operation, and they were doing that thing where they out themselves and or tell you what they're doing. Okay, but they do it in a convoluted way, and they use Hollywood to do it, and or movies and theater to do it. So it's not like they're trying to admit per se they're doing it. It's more like it's how they, in a sneaky way, get our permission because we watch it, and they can say, well, they showed us that. Okay, you know what I mean, right? So that being first tells me this was actually created, at least the beginning of the show, at least the evolution of it and the beginnings of it. It was created as a deep state project. Okay, and it was created by the kind of creeps that would have thought up things like the Montauk project. Okay, I hope I'm saying that word right. Anyway, so here we've got the 9. Yeah, they did it before things got, like before a lot of us rebel gene started figuring this stuff out en masse. I'm not saying a lot of, like, some people write me and they say they've been onto this stuff for 30, 40 years, 50 years. Okay, awesome. And that's fascinating, but that's very few of us. Okay, a lot of us just woke up 5, 6 years ago. Okay, so this card makes sense. It says before we really, like the rebel gene really en masse woke up, yeah, they created that. And I mean, when did they actually write the script and everything for Stranger Things, right? You gotta wonder, right? When was that really originally thought up? Okay, so they did it to out what they do, get our permission. So it was absolutely, that's a yes, absolutely. And adrenochrome's in there too. Now that's interesting because I stopped watching Stranger Things. So if anybody sees adrenochrome references in there, let me know. I didn't see any per se. I saw horrifying MK Ultra type references for sure. Okay, but I definitely didn't see, and I saw that whole upside down world because if you think about it, the whole deep state Khazarian mafia, they live in an upside down world where eating babies and terrorizing children and raping and all the disgusting things they do are somehow okay. Killing millions of people with vaxes, like all of that's okay with them. Somehow that's okay. Okay, so that's an upside down world. So that part was really obvious right from the get go on Stranger Things. But let me know if you saw some adrenochrome direct references because it's saying that was also included in there, the outing of that. So that's fascinating. Okay, so yeah, that's a yes on that. Now let's look at the wildfires in that area. Are they white hat trying to get us to look into these things just because of the word? Okay, to even mention that place in the news, anybody into conspiracies and knows about these things, they might put two and two together and start looking into what are they, what are they covering up? What's underground there in this place, right? Let's have a look. Is that white hat or is that the deep state Khazarian mafia bunch? Trying to cover up evidence maybe from the project. I mean, I feel like they might just leave all their evidence underground and reuse it for other things. There's probably underground things that still reference those projects that they were into. Maybe they even still had them going on, right? So let's see who's doing it there. White hat, the fires there, or the bad guys? Let's have a look. Okay, justice 3. This looks like the good guys. Somebody looking for justice, and yeah, somebody's had a desire and a wish to get us to look at it, it feels like. So they're trying to draw attention to it. An ace definitely looks like drawing attention to something, or they chose a creative way to draw your attention. Okay, I mean, I wouldn't have ever looked up that word unless that person hadn't put it in the comments. And the person noticing the place that's on fire, that likely the reason why they came up with that comment in the questions, or I mean in the comment section. So it feels like it's working. What they're doing is working. Okay, so yeah, a lot of things that have long been buried there, long been very disgusting things that long buried under there. Okay, and it's about time we get enlightened about these things. So this is a way to help enlighten people. And definitely with these two cards here, whatever was going on there was underground. Okay, so it sounds like that project was all being done underground. So they're cleaning out the underground there, and they're trying to get you to go down those rabbit holes. Okay, so wow. Fascinating. Now Betty's sitting right on my questions. Oh. She was sitting literally right on them, and I had to move her again. And she's an old gal. She's not going to be too happy with me. Okay, let's see. Will Carney. So Mark Carney, okay, just sleazes in, and it's obviously what's going on here. The theater of politics in Canada is just getting crazy, like it is everywhere. Okay, and Mark Carney just got named. In place, or he's replacing Trudeau. So Trudeau's stepping down, this guy's coming in, and that the Canadian people, so much out about this guy, Canadian people won't be voting this guy in. Okay, at least if things are on the up and up. Okay, but what we want to know is, will Mark Carney call an election soon? That was the question in the comments, so let's have a look. Eight. So it'll appear that way. We've got a yes. It'll appear that way. So that means maybe we won't get all the way to an election, or he'll say he's going to and then not, one of those two things, because this is how it appears and this is what really happens. Okay, so what really happens looks like they're going in a totally different direction. Okay, and this is a time grabber, something completely different. So they say yes, they are, and then some new information, because Ace of Swords, information, comes up and then walks us away from that whole scenario. Okay, and I looked at this on the Wacky Woo as well, and it looked like we had the Wheel of Fortune in that one, and it looked like things would appear just for the next little while to be going in that direction and then completely go a different direction. So I feel like everything that appears to be, I feel like there's an event or some kind of information that creates an event, maybe even an information event, that maybe it's even information on these guys, you know what I mean, which would be brilliant, by the way. And people will walk away en masse from Carney, but also like the whole like system, the whole political system in Canada. So it's, with this card, makes it bigger than they're just going to walk away from Carney. They're going to walk away from, like, the whole system's, I think, going to be put on notice, legally on notice, because it's something really ugly is going to come out. And I've been getting that for a really long time, so I really can't wait to see what that is. So I don't think it's a yes or a no on that one. It's more like it'll appear like a yes, and he'll start making, comments about that with that Ace of Wands. That's like the intention will appear that way, and then something else comes along and takes us in a different direction. Okay, so that's been pretty consistent with anything to do with Carney. Okay, how did the deep state convince so many young teens to transgender lifestyle? Okay, so people literally transgendering, like literally changing their bodies. Like, how did that? We know it was a big agenda. We've looked into this. We know it was, it's like to weaken humanity, really, to take away any kind of personal pride in yourself. I mean, you have to really be self-loathing not to be, to want to completely change yourself. Okay, like that's like taking body dysmorphia to a new level. And I can't believe people don't see that, right? When their kids are talking about it. It's literally body dysmorphia, I believe it's called. Okay, correct me in the comments if I'm using that word wrong, but like 10 years ago, we would have been bringing our kids to therapists if they hated their bodies so much or thought they were completely the wrong sex in a body. Okay, and by the way, there's ways to express your sexual preferences regardless what they are. So none of this is about that for me. It's about literally you get involved in the medical system to the degree that, and the government even supports it, which, by the way, when the governments fail, which is any minute now, and I think they already did in the background, they're going to drop these like a hot potato, just like they dropped them in the States already. Okay, so as governments become known to be the deep staters that they are, these programs will all drop. Okay, so all of these people who think they're going to be funded by taxpayers to change their whole body and try to become a female from a male or vice versa, okay, is absolutely going to be dropped. You'll have to pay for that yourself if you're going to do it. And I think it'll even be run out of town altogether, because these big pharmacy companies are going to be run out of town, because the only people gaining from that are big pharma, okay, and the medical system. They're the only ones getting paid for that. A lot of people that go through these things, by the way, a lot of these kids are really depressed, in worse shape, and can never have orgasms, by the way, and absolutely like stealing from themselves their true identity and what they chose to be this lifetime. Like, there's nothing good about it, in my humble opinion. Okay, it's all spiritually against your soul's choice. What your soul chooses, what you came here to look like and be like. Okay, so a few modifications, we can say, okay, whatever. But when you're literally not liking anything about yourself and changing your entire anatomy, or trying to, but really these doctors are hacks and they're not very good at it, by the way. Okay, it's just not, there's nothing normal about that. Okay, there's something wrong with you if you think that's the solution, instead of doing the spiritual work to learn to love yourself. But anyway, I'm preaching to the choir. I know I'm preaching to the choir. I just needed that rant. Okay, so let's have a look at how did that get so popular with the youths. Obviously, they're using all kinds of MK Ultra in the media, but don't forget schools. Like, I could just answer that just talking about it, but I'm going to ask the cards to just weigh in on it. But let me just go through a few things that are pretty obvious. The schools have been, and there's a whole lot of teachers, and I swear they're MK Ultra'd. I swear some of them, they're so nuts. Okay, just woke idiots. And a lot of them have been highlighted, by the way, in social media, where they're really pushing this with kids. Okay, and they're pushing secrecy from your parents, keeping secrets from your parents, or pushing all kinds of things. There's all kinds of books been snuck into the school system. So go look in your school library and look for books that are pushing this kind of thing. Okay, and they're in there. They're in there in North America and in Europe. You'll find all kinds of things, and a lot of parents are outing this. Okay, then they just a few years ago they started like transgenders coming into schools and libraries and talking to kids, and or cross-dressers, like all kinds of people in lifestyles, okay, that are absolutely moving in that direction, but they're just a tiny part of the population. And all of a sudden they're yupping them up, bringing them into libraries, tell them story hour, transgender story hour, whatever they're doing, right? And they're making this seem really popular. Okay. And then of course there's the month-long, now it started out one day in the year, now it's a whole month-long gay pride stuff. Okay. But they also involve a lot of LGBTQ and transgender stuff now. Those guys have really joined in that big parade. So it's just a nonstop barrage. I mean, if you go down even close to where I live in Vancouver when I'm here, where my son lives and I stay with him, okay, it's nonstop rainbow flags in every window. And if you don't go along with that ideology, you're absolutely ostracized in the community, apparently. Say you had a shop in that community. So yeah, there's whole areas in cities that are promoting this, and it's an agenda. Okay, so let's have a look at anything I missed there. Hopefully that answers some of the question there, but let's see, did I miss? So yes to everything I was just saying. The universe agrees. Yes. Okay, it's absolutely maybe been there all along, or for a really long time. Okay, because remember that a lot of this Khazarian mafia, the reason they would promote this is part of their sort of spiritual understanding about life, and one of their favorite gods, or you could say demons, that they sort of worship or whatever, is a transgendered entity. They've got breasts and a penis, and apparently have both energies, and it's a way to harness energy and power, but also when you convert or flip, they like to flip things on the natural order and on purpose, just like we were talking about in Stranger Things, how they want the upside down world. They want the upside down world because they want to trick the universal energy, the good one. Okay, so that's why they love going after the innocence of children and youth, and if they can mess them up at a nice early age, and then create a whole bunch of things, create out of it. Procreation really grinds down to a minimum, And so we don't make more people, okay, to make bringing more souls to clean this mess up, right? More evolved souls, okay. We just work with what we have here. And also they got a whole weakened culture and society that would even put up with the stupidity of the pandemic. I mean, it worked. Whatever they were doing, it was working. Okay, so we've got the devil there. So it's absolutely what they're doing. And they took a really long time. So the thing you need to know is they were patient and persevering and started this a long time ago. Okay, so making, maybe certain who knows, like look into what games your kids are playing. Maybe they've got some people in the games, like think about bands like David Bowie and bands from back in that, the 70s and 60s, just started at the end of the 60s and into the 70s and 80s and 90s. You see a lot of bands where all of a sudden the guys are wearing a whole bunch of makeup and dressing like transvestites. I mean, dressing like women. And I feel like they started, creating these. I feel like a lot of these bands were created. I'm not saying David Bowie was per se, but he was one of those that definitely promoted sort of like not looking masculine or feminine. He kind of skirted the lines, right? So not to say that couldn't naturally be a thing, right? But then promoting it and just pushing it. Okay, so instead of keeping it to the small amount that, some people are naturally bent that way, they're turning it into this big deal and making your favorite bands look like that. And pretty soon the rappers are even wearing dresses, walk of shames on the red carpet, wearing dresses and makeup and stuff. Like, it's absolutely everywhere in social media. Okay, so it looks like they've been working at it probably for 100 years, I'd say. Yeah, so they did it slowly but surely and snuck it in there everywhere. But it also has something to do with what you're drinking. Okay, so something they're putting in your water. Okay, so fluoridation in the water, maybe. Certainly, we know that shuts down your pineal gland. Okay, so your intuitive knowing, your more spiritual connectedness. And when you're not spiritually connected, okay, my soul would have told me none of that was okay. Okay, if I was being indoctrinated in school, I did a lot of this in school because I was like, none of this makes sense. And I listened. My pineal gland, thank goodness, was really active. And I listened to my intuition and went, no, I'm not going to do that. And you guys are idiots, right? Even if I was really unpopular, and by the way, I'm still unpopular on a lot of things I say. And guess what? I don't care. Look up May 1st birthday. What they say about people born on May 1st. We don't care if you don't like what we're saying, because we're just talking about what we think is true. Okay, so I've been like that my whole life. And I feel like when you're fed something, so it's in the food, but also in the water, I feel like, so that was another way they attacked people and got them weaker. Maybe in the milk too, because a lot of the hormones they put in the milk, okay, they add these things to the milk, and people are drinking milk and milk products and becoming more feminized. So these guys might believe, because, they've got all these feminine hormones coming in through milk products and milk. Not that I could ever understand why grown people would even drink milk, but whatever, right? Lots of people do. Anyway, I feel like, so it's coming at us from food, coming at us from our water supply, coming at us from all the social media. So yeah, it's a thing, people, and it's they attacked us everywhere with it. So there's my rant.
Because I didn't know that much about Trump, but I did know about Hillary. And I found Martin and I started listening to him. And I listened to him for almost a year before I ever got in touch with him. And then we found that we had so much in common. We phone dated for about 7 months. And then we met, and that was just it. And we've been working together ever since. I do his research, and on Sundays we do a show together. And it's just kind of like everything just happened. But we hold each other up. Let's just put it that way. This has been a bumpy, it's been a bumpy past 6 years. So for all of us, we're all tired and we're all ready for it to be over. Yeah. So.
Oh, you bet. I first heard of you. Actually, you got a hold of me. I think you emailed me, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. I
And
did.
you gave me Martin's, was it a YouTube channel at the time?
Was he on YouTube then? I'm not sure if he was on YouTube. Was he? He might have still been on YouTube then.
I think it might have been. It was, what, 3 years ago?
YouTube went after him too. So it was about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
3 years ago. Yeah.
And my audience was telling me, you got to watch this guy, right? And they'd share videos. And then you got a hold of me, I think. And I was really impressed with some of the things you said in your initial email. Then I did watch Martin. And then I saw you two together. So sort of long story short, I ended up being on as a guest with Martin a couple of times. Then I got to meet you on video. Didn't we do one together, all three of us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Sarge was on one of them too. I think we did.
That's right. Sarge was on one. That's right. So anyway, I was just really impressed with, and in particular, Brenda, with your knowledge. Like you're understated about just how much you know. Like I was like, whoa, that woman knows what she's talking about. So tell us how you got involved in sort of this underbelly of what's really going on in politics. Did anything trigger or move you over there? Or were you always curious and digging under the surface?
Well, I was always curious my whole life. I mean, my mother, when I was a little girl, she used to say, why do you always want to know why? And I was, because I do. I want to know why about everything. And then my life just took a path that took me down into Europe and down a road where I was socializing with a lot of the people we're reporting about today. I'm talking from the Rothschilds all the way down. And I've had quite an interesting life. I came back to America in 1990. My children's father passed away in 2001, and I had to go get a job. Well, I got a job where I was working. This is much later. The two most important jobs I got was 7.5 years. I worked as an executive assistant to the rabbinate at a synagogue in Atlanta. And then after that, I went for another 7.5 years to a Jewish advocacy organization. So I got to see the Jewish world and the Zionist world. Both, these are separate worlds. Zionism and Judaism are not the same thing. A lot of people get that confused. Judaism is a religion and Zionism is an ideology. But the Zionists hide behind Judaism, just like what we just saw with, it's like I would like to call them the Khazarian Mafia. Not all Zionists are part of the Khazarian Mafia, but I would say the Khazarian Mafia are all Zionist, if that makes any sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah. And so I got to see the Jewish world from a religious and an advocacy backgrounds too. And what I saw happen when I first started working at the synagogue, I remember the Israeli ambassador to Atlanta, he came and had a speech because at that time, Gaza was being bombarded. It was 2009. They were being bombarded by Israel. And I mean, hard and heavy. And I really didn't know that much I knew that there was always, all my whole adult life, all I've heard is the Middle East peace plan, but there never seems to be a Middle East peace plan. They just talk about it. It's just been talk. And this Israeli ambassador was there and they were talking about, yes, they were bombing Gaza. He said, but we give them a notification that they can leave. They were dropping leaflets from helicopters at night telling people they were going to be bombed in the next 5 minutes and to get out. And my big mouth opened up in the middle of this meeting of about 200 people. And I said, where are they supposed to go? I mean, I knew enough that Gaza is a little strip of land 29 miles long. And one side of it is Israel and the other side is the sea. So all they could do is push them into the sea. And that's what they've been trying to do since 1949. I mean, Israel became a state in 1948, but Gaza started existing in 1949 because they were trying to push them into the sea. Anyway, the thing that is going on now, I think what people don't understand is that everything we're seeing, they think they're seeing it for the first time because, unfortunately, people's memories are very short. This thing that's happening now in Gaza is something that I do believe happened a few years ago. We have had in the past 15 years 4 major assaults on Gaza by Israeli forces. The one that I was talking about with this ambassador, 2009, they were dropping white phosphorus on the Gazans. They were doing war crimes against these people, blowing their houses up at night, doing the most horrific things you can possibly even think of. And that was 2009. There was another one in 2012. And then in 2014, they said that 3 Israeli teens went missing and that they had been kidnapped by Hamas. Now I heard, because I heard a lot of things that came straight out of Israel where I was working. There were phone calls where they were saying that these were the kidnappers that had these young boys, and they could hear them speaking in Arabic. Well, the only problem was that they were speaking Arabic with an Israeli accent. So boil it down to the Mossad had these kids. If these kids were in fact taken, there's a lot of scenarios where they say things happened that didn't happen just so they can start something. Well, the thing that got to me with these teenage boys, because I was following it very, very closely, and when I knew that it was fake, was because at their funeral, and Benjamin, and his nickname is Satan Yahoo, but Benjamin Netanyahu was sitting up there speaking, and these IDF soldiers brought out 3 stretchers that supposedly had these children on them. And they were just covered with Israeli flags. First of all, that would never happen. That would never happen. So, and these IDF soldiers, they brought these 3 stretchers out, and you can still pull it up online, and they kind of just dropped them on the stage next to Netanyahu. And I thought, that's impossible. They would never have, first of all, in Judaism, you would never treat a body like that. A body is treated very sacredly. It's wrapped and swaddled and anointed and all this other stuff and put in a pine box. They don't put them on stretchers with an Israeli flag over and then drop the stretcher on a stage. I thought, whoa, wait. After that, it started escalating. And then it was, they supposedly had kidnapped another Palestinian boy and made him drink gasoline and then lit him on fire from within. Then there were all of these things started happening. I thought, you know what? We're about to see the lawn get mowed again, because that is their little nickname for when they attack Gaza. It's called mowing the lawn. So in 2014, that's exactly what they did. And that lasted, I do believe it was 49 days, nonstop. bombardment of Gaza. I will say that changed my life, because I saw things happening to these people that I never thought that another human being could do to a person or a group of people. It was slaughter on a level. And I do remember at that time they said Twitter is the Palestinians' new best friend, because it was the first time that they were able to actually take photographs and get them out of Gaza. And the things that I was seeing, it was life-changing, and it did. It changed my whole attitude, my whole opinion, and everything else about the Israelis. And even though I've got Israeli friends, but what they were willing to do to these people. And yeah, it was horrific. I will say that. And that one was called, let's see, that was called Operation, and all of these things had an operation. This was called Operation Brother's Keeper. So after they bombarded and blew Gaza completely, I don't even know how anybody could live there after 14. Right after that, when they finally finished, they said, oh, by the way, we've discovered that Hamas wasn't responsible for this kidnapping after all. After, I don't even know, I think it was somewhere around 70,000 Gazans were killed in that. Children, old people, men, women, it didn't matter. It was just leveled. So after that, I totally went to pro-Palestinian mode. And I went to some Palestinian fundraisers in Atlanta, even though I was working for the Zionist. I was going to these and getting information from them, like what's going on over there. And there was an American doctor that had been over there treating people, and he was telling them, he said, I have never witnessed anything so horrific as what I just witnessed in Gaza.
Wow.
Yeah.
So can I just bust in here for a sec? So while this was going on, you knew some Israeli people, sounds like, because you were working around them.
Yes.
What were they saying about this? Were they buying that Hamas had done this, or did they actually see through the trickery of their government?
Oh, I'm sure they saw through it, but they were totally 100% pro-kill every Palestinian you can find. And I remember seeing from Israel, these Israelis were pulling sofas and recliners and chairs up on top of a hill, and they were sitting there and watching these bombs hitting Gaza, and I mean, really cheering it on like it was a sport game. And no, they told, they want that whole patch of land. If you look at the Israeli flag, and this is pretty well known, but if you look at the Israeli flag, the two blue lines, top and bottom, they stand for the Nile and Euphrates River. And everything in between those two blue lines and those two rivers is supposed to go to Israel, the Greater Israel Project, which is not going to happen. I mean, let's just put it that way. It's not. I think what happened in 2014, Israel never recovered from that, because it showed the world something that the world wasn't ready to see. Some of us saw it, but not like this past one, this 2023, which for me and the people that I talk to, they think that was the beginning of this part of the movie that we're watching, that we saw the other day with Trump and Netanyahu and Netanyahu 2.0 and all of that. Because if you think about it, this was, first of all, it happened on October 7th, 10-7. What is that? 17.
17.
It happened on 17, and it happened in this spectacular, okay, drum roll for this part of the movie, because when you have Hamas coming in on hang gliders and things like, there's no way. I mean, there's no way anything gets over, under. I mean, a bug can't crawl under that wall without setting off the alarms. And I even saw videos with IDF soldiers going, wait a minute, that's not possible that they came over the wall like that. It's impossible. We watch that wall. We don't take our eyes off, and they're stationed, every foot apart from each other, just watching the wall. So that for me was already like, oh, come on. This is impossible. What's going on? And I do believe that this whole Hamas, the hostages, the everything else, this has been part of the movie that has built up to what we saw this week or last week.
Let's talk about that. So now you're talking about Trump having this person 2.0. So what did you call him again? Netanyahu. So this person, who, by the way, I found out is, and I'm sure everybody already knew this, but Polish, and just changed his name, is
brought
not
up in Brooklyn. He was brought up in Brooklyn.
Crazy. So obviously some kind of a plant, like they do this all over the world, planting people in governments. First, I want to weigh in on, of course, I'm sure you're aware, you probably know a lot more than I do about this stuff. It sounds like you're very versed in this, but that most of the U.S. government has dual citizenship, apparently, with Israel. So obviously they're all working for Israel, it sounds like. And then that makes a lot of their, plans and how they spend their money. It's all been, that's been being disclosed, certainly in the last week. We can see a lot of things being disclosed around what they're spending their money on, what that USAID has been spending money on. But I'm sure that'll continue to come out where likely a lot of these operations, like the one in 2014, you're saying was likely Israeli created, and then of course they blamed it on Hamas, then they took it back, it wasn't Hamas. So the whole thing was creating a problem, and then the solution is bombing the shit out of Gaza again, okay, and probably making more rules and tightening up the border even more, et cetera, et cetera. So you would agree that the US in the past, the fraudulent U.S. governments, have been largely involved in what's been going on there?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it was like a Zionist takeover of our government. I mean, it's, dual passports. This is what I've never been able to understand, is how anybody could be in our government. And I don't care what the other country is that they have a passport to. I mean, Ted Cruz that had to, wasn't he Canadian, that had to get rid of his part of his Canadian passport and only become an American citizen only with an American passport, because they made such a stink about him having a dual citizenship with Canada, which I don't understand why we have. And most American Jews have dual citizenship. They can have that. They can get a passport to Israel. Mm-hmm. They were born there or not, it doesn't matter. They just have this kind of right of return, which is another thing they stole from the Palestinians, because I know Palestinians in Atlanta that I know two that are still have the keys to their grandparents' house that they wear around their necks, that they want to be able to, and that's called the right of return, that the Palestinians want the right to return to their home. And I don't blame them.
Wow. Let's get into this trip that this Netanyahu 2.0, because I read on it. He was definitely not the real guy. I think that person's been rounded up. So just in case you're new, to things like this, I believe that. No, I'm not talking about you, Brenda, but I'm talking about people viewing. I believe and been getting for years and years that the White Hat Alliance is actually Trump's the head of that and or the face of it, let's say. And my way of saying it may or may not be this way, but this is how I say it: is they're using Trump brand and energy and his, kind of stature and the way he works to push forward a lot of change in the world. Okay, so him having Netanyahu at the White House early on in, his supposed, because I believe he's been in charge all along. Okay. Yeah. I don't think, the Biden regime was all fake. I called it the plan, or what did we call that? No, actually, I think Jean-Claude coined this one, the pretendency.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, just to catch people up, what we've been saying here, but obviously a lot of people are trying to pin Zionism on Trump. And the fact that he'd have this fellow, so a lot of the very far left were putting out memes and really showing in a dark light what maybe Trump was up to here with this visit. What do you make of some of that? Let's hear your take on what was he really doing there with having this guy over?
Well, first of all, I think Israel, we're, as Q has said, we're saving Israel for last. Well, that means that we're at the end. So we've got to deal with Israel now. I think everything else has been set up. And I think that only really Trump can handle Israel the way it needs to be handled. If you saw, I don't know if you saw Satan Yahoo with Pete Hegseth, always trying to be the victim. We have to know that Israel is safe from the Gaza. They're shooting bottle rockets at Israel from Gaza. I mean, come on. I mean, they shoot a couple of bottle rockets, and so you go get your bombers and come and knock down all the buildings. I think, first of all, Satan Yahoo, from what I understand, was taken care of quite a few years ago because of his involvement with 9/11. All of those people were. I can't believe for a second that Trump, yes, I do believe from the time he came down that escalator and changed the world, this has been a military operation up until the second we're sitting here talking. And Israel it's really the head of the snake. I mean, it's when you talk about all of if you really look at most of the horrific things that we see, if you dig just a little bit deeper, you're going to find Israel there in one form or another. Mm-hmm. Trump said the other day, and he really does feel this way, I think. He said, I have a different take on the Palestinians. It's because he cares for them. Now, when you see what Palestine or Gaza looks like now, I mean, it looks just like what he said, a demolition site. And I do believe that's been going on to do the rebuilding like he wants to do. I think we're going to see a lot of changes in the Middle East. I think we're going to see a lot of reorganizations, but I think that also this thing with Gaza, that wall's got to come down, and they've got to be inclusive with everybody, because even Trump said this could be a wonderful place for a lot of people, different people, to come live. It doesn't have to be just Gazans, but the thing is, the Palestinian people need to have their homeland back. And as far as Benjamin Fulford said the other day about Israel being renamed Judea. Now, Judea is already what they call the West Bank. That's Judea. The West Bank is something that is modern language. So it's already there. The part of Gaza is Samaria. So you have Judea, Samaria, right there in this land we call Israel, which is really Palestine. So it's complicated as to how they're going to do this. That's why I think it's already been done. This isn't something Trump just came up with the other day, like, well, the U.S. is going to take over the Gaza and screw you, Netanyahu. That's exactly like what he said. I mean, I saw this one angle while he was talking. It just had the camera on Bibi. And he looked like, I mean, the actor that's playing him was doing a really good job of looking completely like, what are you talking about?
Gobsmacked.
Completely. It was wonderful.
And then he tried to spin it. So if you listen to that Netanyahu fellow or the person playing him, he would reiterate what Trump was saying and try to spin it like Trump was trying to save Israel from Palestine because they were the big bullies in the playground. Okay, but when you look at the map, you know who the bully in the playground is. When you go over in any kind of visuals over the land, you can see who's the bully. And here's the thing with the Israel, like apparently Israel was created by the Khazarian mafia, the deep state, the dark cult, all of those names. By the head, that is the head of the snake. And you hear, there's a famous clip where the Rothschild, what's that fellow, the egg-headed one? I think they all have egg-headed shaped heads. I really do think they're like part something, like some kind of off-world or demonics. But anyway, and I feel like they're just doing the bidding of those demonics. They left those 13 bloodline or 14 bloodline families in charge. And they created, so by his own words, he says, we created Israel, and then lied to all the Jewish people that they enticed over there, and propaganda that that's their land, and they have to come back to the homeland and all of that, when in fact, none of that was the truth. And they just, they created so many things to cover their ass and hide behind regular Jewish people, like you said. They created themselves to hide because they're actually Satanists. And that's why that guy's called Satan Yahoo. I mean, they're Satanists. Yes. And they've been hiding in history for many, 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 many years. There's stories about them being, it was demanded, I believe it was by the Russians at some point in history, I forget when exactly, but that they needed to choose a religion, a world religion, because they couldn't be the Satanists they were. And of course, they chose Judaism, but only on a surface level, and then hid themselves in there and never stopped all the things they were doing.
Right. No, exactly. And then that's exactly what happened. And they have, I mean, when you look at the organ harvesting, the diamond business, all of these things that Israel is the top of. I mean, Israel is the top diamond country. They export more diamonds than any other country in the world, and there's no diamond mines in Israel. So they go into these other countries and what they call blood diamonds, they get those diamonds one way or another. And another thing that is with children, and that's been basically my thing, is the children. But these children that are taken, they are taken for different reasons, for satanic ritual abuse, for organ harvesting, for sexual, all of it. And they pretty much go through from the time they're taken until the time they land on somebody's finger, because at the end of the day, after they're taken, done what they do with them, murdered, sometimes they're eaten, and then they take the bones, they burn the bones, and they make the diamonds from the ashes. So how is Israel the top diamond vendor in the world with no mines? Mm-hmm. I mean, there are things that have been going on in Israel that, it's the head of the snake. And they said that was also what I think's been going on too during this time, they've been cleaning it out during this between 14 and now, because there was they said that there was a nest of these Dracos under there. So for me, every time they do one of these mow the lawn massacres, it's nothing but blood rituals. It's sacrifices.
Yeah.
It's just it's just human sacrifices all over the place.
Yeah. I'm sure if the regular people living in Israel knew of the depravity, and I get that some of them might, but I think a lot of them may not. And we are seeing where they actually sometimes do big organized kind of out in the streets, publicly displaying, trying to protect the Palestinians. I've been seeing that lately. And when they're abroad, a lot of times they will talk about they're not wanting to be part. So just to say, I don't think every one of them are in on this. I feel like their government, just like all over the world, we've had these deep state, these placed government, like heads of government that are literally what we've discovered is they're part of the WEF, which is part of the Khazarian mafia. Like they're the New World Order or tried to be. And they were all placed. Like we got the CIA placements, placing them at like Obama, obviously, like, and people like that, like all through history, actually. And he's just one little tiny example. Then, of course, Trudeau. I mean, all the Trudeau family, like absolute Satanists and or pedophiles, like known that the father was Trudeau's father, and pretty known also. Justin Trudeau also, but likely he was brought up in a satanic ritual abuse family. So people need to go down the rabbit holes. If this is the first you're hearing about it, you need to look up satanic ritual abuse. You need to look up the real story behind Blood Diamonds, which Brenda was mentioning, because I think they put out movies like that Blood Diamond movie. Okay, to take you away from the truth. They knew the word blood diamond was going to come to the surface, so they show you a different version of why maybe we're calling it a blood diamond. No, they missed the real point, which is human trafficking, human sacrifice, and then literally creating these diamonds. And by the way, it's known or widely known in the truther world anyway, that Oprah wears a blood diamond. Lots of real famous people do. That guy that got finally put in jail, what was his name? The big Hollywood guy.
I can see him. Why?
Yeah, good friend of Oprah. She was many
Weinstein.
Yeah, that guy. Okay, he wears one. Like a whole bunch of them wear them. You can spot them. They're wearing the blood diamond proudly. Okay, so one of their sacrifices are wearing it on their finger. It's disgusting in plain sight, but this stuff's all coming out. And I believe Trump talks a lot of double talk. So a lot of people are, of course, freaking out over some of the things he's been saying. But in the cards I got for years now, and this is why I was so excited to have you on, Brenda, but for years I've been getting that this Palestine-Israel situation's been actually worked on. Probably they started in 2017 when you see that timeline video where he goes around to all of these places, and apparently he showed them that him and his team, the White Hat Alliance team, actually had all of the goods on these people. And they actually started dismantling the WHO, for instance. I don't believe it's been actually a functioning. I feel like a lot of the stuff they're showing you is what I call psyops on the part of the White Hat Alliance to show you how these people work. It's getting so in your face and out there in the open. They're using actors, they're using CGI. Like people are always freaking out about the latest Bill Gates. Bill Gates was rounded up years ago. It's so not Bill Gates. He's actually been his brand's been working for the good guys for a really long time. It's like I don't get excited about hearing about the latest, what Hillary said, because that's clearly not her.
No.
And when she should be really chiming in, if it really was her, you don't hear a peep. So there's no way like we'd be getting away with the kind of stuff we've been saying for years without being sued by those people if they were actually around. Hello? Yeah, they're not.
Absolutely. No, I mean, and I think too, we're seeing how what they're showing us now is how they did it. They've done everything in the background, and they have to show us how they did it. And they couldn't show us while they were doing it, because what if it didn't work out the way they wanted it to? I mean, so I really think that all of this stuff, like the people of 9/11, I think Satan Yahoo, all of those, been rounded up, taken care of. I do think, though, we're going to see the actual footage of the trials and the executions that they're holding up on a shelf somewhere for us. They're not going to cheat us out of that too. Not that I really, all I want to know is that these people are gone. These demons are gone, and they can't hurt anybody else. And, and the thing with, even like I was going to say with this 2014 thing, and people can look it up. And this was, I think, on the news. This kind of brought some attention to 14. There were 4 little boys, Palestinian boys, playing on the beach. One was 9, 2 were 10, and one was 11. And they were playing ball out on the beach. And this was in July of 14. And the Israeli military sitting out there on a PT boat in the ocean, in the sea. They see these little boys playing. They sent missiles and killed them. These 4 little boys, blew them up. They said that they thought they were Hamas terrorists running. These are 4 little children playing ball. This is what happens with these people. Even the fishermen, they can't even go out into the ocean so far. And if they go a little bit too far, they get shot at. So another thing that people don't understand too about Gaza is that they have a very rich offshore natural gas field that's in their property. They're very rich with minerals. So that's another thing, but they can't mine anything. They can't do anything with it, because if they try, they get shot at. So these people are being held in an open air concentration camp. They can't do anything. So I truly do believe, after I saw what I saw in 14, that was when the world knew they had to step in and do something. And the thing is they can't do it like all in one stroke, because I think with Israel and America especially, there's so many people who live in both places. They have allegiance to both places. There's a lot of money in the Israeli world. I mean, Trump said it the other day. He said, there's a lot of money over here and a lot of people with a lot of money. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not making some of those Khazarian mafia billionaires pay for some of this. To escape prison or execution or whatever, or what they have done for crimes against humanity, because he's talking, we're not paying for it. He said, there's plenty of money over here for them to pay for it. So it's just, the whole thing, I guess I've got a little bit too much up here to really run along, smoothly, because it's just so much. But I can tell you now what I'm seeing, and from the history that I have with everything that I have seen, I never thought I would see us get to the point we are today. This for me is like, thank you, because finally these people are getting some recognition. They're not just, what was it, Golda Meir said, Palestinians are a non-people without a country. They've tried to erase the Palestinians from history, and they can't do it. I was looking at this 1941 World Atlas, and this woman was going down the index, and you get to the I's, and there is no Israel. When you get to the P's, and there's Palestine. I mean, Palestine was a country with its own airport, its own money, its own everything, government, symphony, ballet company, all kinds of things before all of this happened to them.
Yeah. Of course, if you look at history, I mean, in Canada and the United States, the original, like indigenous peoples here, also they were erased and lands taken away. And like it's happened all over the world, happened in Australia, New Zealand, everywhere happened. Like it's horrifying, and we just have to start really speaking up when we're seeing it now. That's real time. We're watching it happen. We can actually finally do something about it. I feel like I really do believe, and maybe we should pull some cards on this. What do you think? Is this really going to get healed in our, in the next year, say? Are we going to see this, the Palestinians like able to have their lands back? And are we going to see any form of peace there? Or is it still going to be tumultuous for years to come? Why don't we have a look at that?
Okay, because I know what you just said too. A lot of Israelis, they're sick of this. I mean, and there are a lot of mixed marriages over there between the Palestinians and the Israelis. I mean, they're trying their hardest to wrap their minds around what their government's been doing too, because it's not the Israeli people. It's certainly not them. It's their government, just like what we're finding out about this through the U.S. aid, through the Doge, through, this things that we never thought we would see, things that we've known that have been going on, and now it's being like in your face. But yeah, I would love to see I pray that the Palestinians get their land back, and Israel, I hope that it does go away as far as in name, because there's something about that name now that it ignites anger in people.
Well, it was likely spellcast. I mean, if you think about it, you got to look at who started the club you belong to. It's like I always say that to people that are still okay with popes and the Vatican. If you're call yourself a Christian or a Catholic, I mean, look into the history of that bunch. Ooh. Talk about blood diamonds. Talk about human trafficking. Absolute pedophiles, like popes. How did they, they're like some of the most powerful demons on the earth plane, literally the whole group, and everything to do with the Vatican. It's like hiding the biggest secrets of all humanity. It's probably the most corrupt place in the universe, and anybody who is okay with that and okay with calling themselves, well, I'm a Catholic, but you're still okay with Vatican. Like there's Catholics who aren't okay with what they do over there. And I'm not talking about the good people that are just trying to be good people. I'm talking about people that are still okay with go visit there, kiss the ring of the Pope, kiss the ring. You're probably kissing a blood diamond.
Exactly.
Okay, just look behind what's going on behind the Pope's chair there in his reception room. The reception room shaped like a snake head. By the way, that's a known thing. And then there's literally a demon exploding in this sculpture behind. What do you think that is, people? Have a good look at. Do your research and have a good look at things before you call yourself this or that.
Yeah, and in that exploding sculpture behind that chair, if you get up to they say it's Christ coming out of the ashes. But if you look, when you get up to the face, half of it is supposed to be Jesus, the other half is a snake.
Yeah, like a reptilian
on that statue.
So what really are they saying there, right? Like, what are they saying? Like it's demonic, literally. Okay, so let's have a look. We're going with the question, will this actually come to, and I'm going with what Ben Fulford said early in the week. I think it was Monday. And I've shared that all over, Tarot by Janine shared it all over my Telegram. It's Telegram channel. And it's been shared widely, this little clip that Ben Fulford says, Israel is being dismantled. Now, how I've been getting it for years is that it was, years ago, probably around the time they started the operation around 2017, could have been sooner even, White Hat Alliance. And they've already, so a lot of the things we're seeing are things that already happened, and they're showing us in retrospect what happened there. A lot of things you see and you think are real are CGI. I'm just saying. I don't say it didn't happen, but maybe not in the time frame you think it did.
Well, also people have to be careful who they follow, because there's also on X, there's a channel called Gaza Wood, and you'll see how the Palestinians are putting out propaganda too. I mean, both sides.
Yep.
And this one, I mean, on this Gaza Wood, they show how they, make people up to look like their eyes are falling out and their bodies are blown up and everything. And then they're kind of like, waving and smoking a cigarette afterwards. So you kind of have to know what you're looking at and where it's coming from and what the history is behind it to really, and then you can you can judge what you're seeing, not just have a knee-jerk reaction,
right?
To things. So,
and also my philosophy, and it's been for a really long time. I read cards for a huge clientele for 35 years daily. Like I was a 6-day-a-week card reader. Put my kids through school as a single parent reading cards. That was my income. That's my livelihood. So I'm not just a part-time. I did this for years and years. And what I saw was that the most important thing your higher self wants you to remember is there's no victims. Okay, you can be victimized by situations, but to continue to treat someone as a victim, okay, so it might sound a little brutal, but it's disempowering, okay? You need to, obviously we need to stop what this Israeli government and this Zionist government, this fake Jewish government, I'm going to call them fake Jewish people. Okay, what they've been doing, okay, has to be outed, but to continue to assume there are victims after that, like you have to just move forward and every single day trust that they can walk themselves into a better place for themselves. Like always putting them in the victim place is just reminding people it's not actually empowering to them.
There's no honor in victimization. And what you're saying too, in fact, my best friend in Atlanta, she is a Hasidic Jew. And it's funny because I tell her things that says in the Bible, because I've studied all of the different religions and their books and everything. And of course, she has no idea what the New Testament says. But if you go into the Revelation book of the New Testament, which is the last book, Jesus says the fake Jews from the synagogue of Satan. And that's what we're talking about here. That's what we're talking about here. So for the Christians out there, you can take that one and chew on it a little bit, so it's, and also she told me one time, she'd had a couple of drinks and she told me, she said, well, the only reason Israel exists in the Middle East, don't you? And I said, why don't you tell me? And she said, because the Rothschilds needed a military base there. And that's it.
And that's exactly what that Rothschilds clip I was referring to says. The guy blatantly says, we created it. It's to our advantage. And it was also a money laundering place. And head of the snake, they hide a lot of their activities there. And then they create all of the Semitistic kind of, and I don't know if I said that word right, but like they make it, have made it really hard for you to dare speak against anything they're doing there, hiding behind, again, the Jewish name.
But it doesn't even have to be, I've been around them long enough that I used to get away with saying the most outrageous things to them because they were just like, oh, because I told them one time, I'm the goy you have to deal with because I'm not afraid of your stuff. And that's the thing is you can't say, I don't like that color of blouse you're wearing. Well, that's because you're an anti-Semite. I don't like this. You can't say, unless you bow down and kiss the ring of Israel, anything, I don't care how innocent it is, if you say anything negative towards Jews or Judaism or Israel, you're an anti-Semite. So it's very easy to be an anti-Semite. You know, and I told my director one time, I told him, I said, why do you keep using that? You've lost that word has lost the meaning. It has no more meaning to it. No one cares.
Nobody cares.
Semite.
Get over it, everybody. Nobody cares.
You're going to be called an anti-Semite, so just get over it, you know. And that's the thing.
Yeah. When I first started doing videos, and I was really new at it, and I wasn't very good at it at first. Well, I was good at the reading part, but I wasn't very learned about it. I didn't go down the rabbit holes. And I was talking about things I knew nothing about. Although going in blind can be good sometimes, but sometimes I really flopped on my face and, you know, ate a lot of crow back in the day. And a lot of people can remember those times. But I'm happy to, like, I grew and learned, and my cards taught me, my intuition taught me as I went, which is always how I work, right? I'm just a human trying to do my best. But I remember saying the word Zionist in a derogatory way in one of my, and it was just me channeling stuff. I was just blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And it's not something I think about a lot, but I remember it came out my mouth, and I remember getting so many, and this was like 6 years ago when I first started. So getting a whole bunch of people telling me, oh, don't say that. You're gonna get a knock on the door. Be careful. Oh my goodness. Right. I got so many, and now nobody bats an eye. And so I'm actually happy about that, because their little plan to make it impossible to point out their the heinous acts and crimes against humanity that these people have been up to is not going to work going forward. It's like on notice, buddies, and the dog agrees. Cedric agrees. But here's that reading. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, it's true, because it's when you overuse something so much, you know, that you're a Hitler. You know, if Trump is a Hitler must have been a pretty damn nice guy. That's all I can say. Anytime you see anybody, you know, being diminished to the point of they can't breathe without their Hitler. Well, now we're finding out things about Hitler we didn't know before.
Yeah.
You know,
pretty interesting. Yeah.
People need to.
That's going to shock everybody. Stuff like, we're just the tip of the iceberg of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing we thought was true is true. We've been lied to completely pillaged, raped, pillaged, lied to, absolutely. And so take it all down. That's 2025. The Tower overviewed 2025 when I did a big look for the year. All systems down that were not built on a firm foundation. Okay, so all officialdom's coming down. It's going to be a mess. Okay, we're going to have to rebuild. A lot of us already started. So you're going to need to be strong, agile, mentally agile. If you're not physically strong and agile, you know, because not all of us are physically strong and agile, but you at least need to be mentally strong and agile. You can't get offended easily. We're going to be duking out all kinds of ideas, and we're going to need to come together. The people that want to change the world for the better, they're going to need to all come together and stop putting each other in categories and really recognize who's your real enemy and who's been doing this. Stop it now. You're coming down.
Exactly. The thing is, everyone's got to kind of like wipe their minds, because everything we've learned about, I don't care what it is. And, you know, I turned 71 yesterday, so I've lived a lot of history. So it's a lot of stuff I know just because it's been my path this lifetime. I just want people to, like you said, stop categorizing people, stop putting people in boxes. We're all free human beings living on this, whatever shape it is, thing spinning around in space or whatever. We're all here together. We're all in this together. I don't know why people can't get that one. We are all in this together. I don't care if you're in America, Canada, Israel, Africa, whatever's going to happen to one is going to happen to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Need to learn how to let go of all this hatred and nastiness and bigotry and things that we've had shoved down our throats. And I think people now are seeing that, how they've been paid to, this media has been paid to do that to us, to teach us that, blacks and whites, men and women, this and that, there's got to be all this division. We've got to throw that all away and come together. And that's what I think Trump is trying to do, but he's got to be, I don't think now he doesn't have to be as careful as he was his first term, because there he was trying to, I think, just out people. Now he's outed them. And I think that he's still a very deeply caring human being. It's like when they wanted to go and shoot off a bomb in Iran. And they said, well, how many people will die? And they said about 100,000. He goes, so we're not going to shoot it. Nobody needs to die. So he's not that. He's so different than anything we've ever seen. And people are, talking about, oh, he wants to ethnically cleanse Gaza.
When I read that, I was like, no, that's not anything like what he said there.
I'm like, do people hear him, or they hear what they want to hear?
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, it's never what he said.
Yeah. And of course, we've been decoding, he does say some crazy stuff sometimes, and it's usually a calm. Okay, because by the way, he's in front of a huge organization that's been cleaning out the deep state all over the world. So been in military ops, he can't say blatantly what's going on. He would put a lot of people at risk. But I did pull some cards on that a question we asked.
Okay.
So I'll show those here in closing off our little video here. I'll just show these cards here. So the question was, will in the next year we see some semblance of peace and the people of Gaza to have their lands back? Will that, what Ben Fulford says in that little clip, so go find it, you guys. People will share it in the comments. It's out there. Okay, will that actually come to fruition? Now, this is really interesting because the first card was this Trump and the white hat card. It's often my Trump and the white hat. Okay, and this card, interestingly enough, is the Six of Pentacles. So it's like things are already working themselves out in that department. In other words, the reshuffle's already happened. So on the ground, people are already being moved. And taking that land is already in process. Things are already started there. And that's what I've been saying for years. Something's already happening. This card says it's actually further along than you can understand. Six of Pentacles. Things are working themselves out better than you thought. That's literally the nickname of the card. Things are working themselves out better than you thought. And it has everything to do with Trump and the white hat team. So we're not just talking about Trump, the Republican. I don't even see him as a Republican anymore. There's a lot of bad news Republican, and they're also tied in with Israel-like characters. Okay, I'm talking about Trump bringing the U.S. back to the Republic and working on behalf of and the front of the White Hat Alliance. And he's been doing that all along, you guys. Surprise, surprise.
Can I just bring one thing? If anybody saw his inauguration in 2017, and it's the only time it's ever happened with a presidential inauguration, when the military came down those stairs and stood on either side of him behind. And it was only when the military was next to him, he said, "We are giving back to you, the people, your power." We. So that military was standing behind him when he said that.
Yeah.
For me, that's when it all started. When he was sitting there with Melania and Barron and his family watching the parades, I think that military, they had everybody in Washington right there.
Yeah.
Let's go, folks.
So that's the past to the question. So the past is, this already started. It's been in so many ways, and there's been so many clues. This card's about subtle clues to it. So it's been in operation for years. truth and integrity to the statement, but this also talks about the woo community's been talking about this. Use your intuition about this. See that the little black cat. Check in with your instincts and intuition and get into your spirit self to know the truth here. And then this ace, we'll see it within a year. You'll literally, everyone, not just the woo community, but everybody. We see it now. That's now in the present, that the woo sees it, but everyone will see it within the year. So that's a yes.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. Yeah, no, I mean, that's why I've been able to just be, because I know that's happening. Just from the history I have in that world, and to see how things are, what's being said, what's being done, how it's being said. It's definitely being done. And I'm glad you said within the year, because I feel like I told Martin yesterday, I said, I feel like we're going to be, by this time, by my next birthday, we're going to be seeing a world that doesn't look anything like what we're seeing today.
Awesome. And you just had a birthday. So happy birthday to you, Brenda.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm going to say goodbye. And thank you so much for joining us, shedding some light on this subject. I know everyone's wondering about it. So it was wonderful for you to share your knowledge. And thanks again.
Oh, you're welcome. I hope I was able to help.
Oh, yeah, you were. Thanks, Brenda.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Vòng tròn phòng thủ lại một chút, nhân mã bên trong tăng tốc qua sông. Hồng nương tử đáp một tiếng rồi vội vàng cùng với Triệu Phan chạy qua. Sương mù đang dần tan đi, tia nắng đầu tiên sắp ló dạng, mắt đã có thể thấy rõ hơn trăm bước. Lúc này có trận hò hét vang lên từ phía xa. Trận địa mà cánh tả Triệu Hạo thủ vững bỗng nhiên được giảm nhẹ áp lực, dường như quan binh ở hậu trận có phần giãn ra. Triệu Hạo ngẩn người đưa mắt nhìn kỹ, là trùng hợp bắt gặp một lá cờ lớn có chữ Lưu phấp phới giữa trời, hình dạng đồ án rõ ràng là cờ của Bạch Y quân. Triệu Hạo như vỡ òa vì vui mừng lớn tiếng kêu: "Nhanh, nhân mã của Lưu Thất đã tới, các huynh đệ giết thôi!" Đám phỉ tặc nhóm sức cùng lực kiệt vừa nghe liền lên tinh thần, bọn họ giống to, cố gom thêm dũng khí nào lên chém giết quan binh. Lưu Huệ đã đến bước này cũng không nỡ bỏ cờ đi, mà là do lãnh binh đánh giặc, dù gì cũng phải có một hiệu lệnh chỉ huy. Công cụ truyền tin của bọn họ không đầy đủ như quan binh, các loại cờ hiệu, nhạc khí, đèn đóm đều có. Nhưng khi hỗn chiến, phóng mắt nhìn toàn là loạn binh, không có một cây cờ, nhân mã của y thế nào cũng đánh tan tác, cho nên nhất định phải giơ cao ngọn cờ này. Nhân lúc sưng dày, y lặng lẽ chọn một hướng từ từ đi xuống sườn núi, đột ngột tập kích ra ngoài thoát khỏi vòng vây, rồi men theo sông đi xuống. Nhưng quan binh vây núi mặc dù không thấy rõ phương hướng của bọn chúng hành động, nên không thể kịp thời điều động binh lực đến phương hướng mà y tiến công. Song toàn quân vẫn đề phòng nghiêm ngặt, toàn bộ binh lính nghỉ ngơi đều mặc giáp chỉnh tề, sẵn sàng chiến đấu, quyết không dám có chút lười biếng. Cho nên vừa nghe báo động liền phản kích cực kỳ đúng lúc. Lưu Huệ vừa đánh vừa chạy bắn mạng dọc theo sông. Khi chạy đến đây đã hết hơi, chỉ còn chưa đến 800 tráng sĩ. Bọn họ đột ngột đến đây không gây ảnh hưởng gì đến quan binh, chỉ có điều bất thình lình tập kích khiến quan binh đang hoang mang trở nên hỗn loạn. Y cũng nhìn thấy cờ quân Triệu gia trong vòng vây, muốn liều chết xung phong hội họp cùng bọn họ. Nhưng hơn 800 người này mà xông vào đám người kia thì sẽ giống như là một chiếc thuyền nhỏ dập dềnh theo ngàn vạn con sóng trên biển lớn, bất cứ lúc nào cũng có thể lật úp, nào còn sức lực xông vào trùng vây. Lúc này lộ quan binh truy đuổi tiếp theo ở Phượng Hoàng Lĩnh cũng đã chạy tới. Ba lớp quan binh phỉ tạc chen chúc với nhau chật như nêm, bờ sông dài đằng đẵng phủ kín thi thể nhân mã hai bên. Đại quân Dương Lăng chia ra 5 lộ, cách nhau hơn 2 dặm che trời phủ đất, xuất phát từ thành Nam Kinh tựa như Thái Sơn áp đảo lao về hướng nam. Cờ bay phấp phới, trống hiệu vang dội, sát khí ngút trời. Trung quân của Dương Lăng là im như thóc, lặng ngắt như tờ, chỉ thấy Dương Lăng đội đã thay giáp trụ, đại tướng quân, mũ vàng giáp bạc, trường đao vắt ngang ngựa, bên hông còn trang bị một khẩu súng kíp, xung phong dẫn đầu. Thân binh thị vệ hai bên hắn có 3.000 người đều ngây ra không dám chạy về phía hắn. Bọn họ không phải là không muốn yểm hộ phía trước quốc công, nhưng quốc công ngại bọn họ vướng bận phía trước mà có người thì hắn liền sốt ruột. Hắn cũng không nói lời nào, chỉ là phải thúc ngựa về phía trước. Các thần binh lo lắng nên chạy ra phía trước, Hắn lập tức cầm cương chạy lên trước. Hai bên giống như đang cùng thi chạy bỏ xa hậu đội đằng sau. Các thân binh thấy vậy không dám xông lên nữa, lại phải ngoan ngoãn đi theo sau. 3.000 kỵ binh khinh kỵ trên mặt giáp ngược nhẹ nhàng. Hai cánh quân chia ra xếp thành hình chim nhạn hộ vệ hai bên Dương Lăng cùng tiến đến. Giáp trụ sáng đóa, yên ngựa chỉnh tề, vô cùng oai phong hùng hồn. Các kỵ sĩ vận quân phục đứng dưới những tán cờ đón gió phần phật, hông đeo đoàn đao, cùng đeo sau lưng, tay trái cầm khiên gia châu vệ mãnh thú thời thượng cổ, tay phải cầm một cây thương dài đỏ tươi như máu chĩa thẳng lên trời. Trên mũi thương ba cạnh chế tác từ thép tinh, rãnh máu tựa như đang nhìn lóe lên ánh sáng u ám mà dữ tợn. Những kỵ thủ vây quanh Dương Lăng chỉ trong vòng 100 bước, lại nhìn ra xa, toàn bộ đã chìm trong màn sương đang dần nhạt nhòa. Chỉ có thể loáng thoáng nhìn thấy quân dung chỉnh tề và sát khí hừng hực của bọn họ, không thể thấy rốt cuộc có bao nhiêu nhân mã. Quốc công gia điên rồi, ngài ấy muốn đích thân ra chiến trường. Đây là suy nghĩ chung của 3.000 thị vệ, cho nên tâm tình mỗi người đều cực kỳ nặng nề. Có ai từng thấy vị quốc công gia này múa thương vung kiếm bao giờ? Ngài ấy chơi nổi mấy thứ này không? Nếu chẳng may có sơ suất, chẳng phải chúng ta chỉ mệt thêm sao? Cho nên các binh sĩ chưa đánh trận đã thấy run sợ. Lưu Đại Bồng Trùy chăm chú nhìn đại soái, thần kinh hơi bất thường. Y đã thương lượng với các thị vệ thân cận nhất, nếu có hậu quả gì Y sẽ gánh vác. Một khi địch xuất hiện, Y sẽ lập tức đánh đại soái bất tỉnh, sau đó ba quân sẽ lao ra đánh. Đợi quốc công tỉnh lại muốn nổi cơn thì cứ để ngài ấy cầm trường thương đâm vào thi thể là được, như vậy tương đối an toàn. Trung quân im lặng, chỉ có tiếng bước chân chỉnh tề soàn soạt tựa như nhịp trống có tiết tấu đạp vào lòng từng chiến sĩ. Phía trước là một chiếc cầu đá, một nửa hiện rõ trong tầm mắt, một nửa toàn ẩn mình trong màn dương hư vô mờ mịt. Đúng lúc này, một trận vó ngựa giòn tan vang lên, tiếng bóng ngựa dẫm lên mặt đường đá có thể nghe thấy rõ ràng. Dầm một tiếng, họ nâng khiên, giơ cao thương, dương cung, mỗi một tinh binh trái phải đều vào vị trí. Lưu Đại Bồng Trùy giơ cao cây bổng hợp lại cũng phải dùng mấy phần lực. Một con ngựa đen xuất hiện từ trong màn sương mờ ảo, trên lưng ngựa lại là một bóng trắng. Các tân binh vừa thấy bóng trắng liền khẩn trương hơn, tiếng vun vút vang lên, cũng như trăng tròn, nỏ thủ tiến lên. Dương Lăng chợt khựng lại, cố hết sức quát to một tiếng, dừng tay. Tiếng quát này mặc dù không hữu lực như của Trương Phi, nhưng cũng đủ khiến người cạnh hắn giật nảy mình. Một sĩ binh bên cạnh liền run tay, vội vàng giơ nỏ lên, một mũi tên phóng vút vào đám xương. Lưu Đại Bồng Trùy đang chuẩn bị xoay bổng, nghe thấy hắn hạ lệnh liền thu tay lại như phản xạ có điều kiện, suýt chút nữa mất đà ngã xuống ngựa. Dương Lăng im lặng nhìn phía trước, hai mắt rưng rưng. Bóng dáng đó nếu không phải tiểu yêu tinh hại chết người thì còn ai vào đây nữa? Ngựa qua được nửa cầu, người áo trắng lập tức phát hiện đại quân đông đúc đang đứng im lặng, sợ đến mức ghìm chặt dây cương ngựa. Ngựa lên hí lên một tiếng, đứng trên hai vó sau. Sau đó vó ngựa to như chiếc bát dẫn mạnh về phía trước, cạch một tiếng rồi đứng bất động tại đó. Quan binh phía trước đừng bắn tên, ta là Lan Kinh du kích tướng quân muội muội của Mã Ngang, không phải Bạch Y quân. Mã Liên Nhi cũng kinh sợ đổ đầy mồ hôi lạnh. Nếu bị bạn tên bắn trúng thì chết quá oan đức rồi. Nàng nói xong một câu liền không dám nhúc nhích nữa, chỉ đứng như tại chỗ. Đôi mắt đang trợn tròn hết cỡ của Dương Lăng liền cong lên. Hắn cười rồi, trong nụ cười có nước mắt, gò má luôn trắng bệch lúc này đỏ lên như ánh bình minh vì kích động. Hắn liền thúc chiến mã lao về phía cầu. Ngựa lẫn trong sương, áo trắng trên lưng, xinh đẹp đứng đó, vạt áo bồng bềnh, phong thái như họa, thanh nhã phóng khoáng tựa như băng mai tuyết lên. Lưu Đại Bồng Trùy giơ bổng trận to mắt lên, ngơ ngác nhìn quốc công gia một mình phóng ngựa qua đó. Một lát sau, từng luồng sương mỏng lượn lờ từ mặt sông vượt quanh, hai bóng người trên cầu liền ôm lấy nhau. Lưu Đại Bồng Trùy ngoác miệng cười hô hố, tiếng hoan hô như núi lở sóng gầm lan rộng trong quân. Áo dài nhân nhẹ bay như tuyết khiến ba quân vô cùng hớn hở. Tảng đá lớn của bọn họ xem như đã đặt xuống. Bãi cát xa trường đã bị nhân mã hai bên đánh lên hỗn loạn, thây phơi đầy đất, bùn đất mịt mù, dai xéo tạo nên nhiều rãnh đọng đầy máu trên mặt đất. Triệu Phan đã chết trận, tàn quân Liêu Huệ thấy đã mất hy vọng phá vây liền đổi thành làm rối vòng vây, vì muốn tranh thủ thời gian cho Triệu Phong Tử. Tuy họ bị chém thành thịt nát nhanh chóng, cũng tranh thủ chút thời gian vì phỉ tặc quân nhân mã vượt sông đã càng nhiều rồi. Bây giờ còn hơn 1.000 binh mã chưa đi qua. Bọn họ bị bức ép khổ sở trong một vòng tròn méo mó chật hẹp do phỉ tặc xếp thành. Triệu Phong Tử cầm đại đao đã uốn lưỡi, tìm thấy Hồng Nương Tử đầu đẫm mồ hôi, càn giọng nói: đi bọc, lập tức chạm sông, dẫn nhân mã rời khỏi ngay, nếu không con binh ở bên kia cũng sẽ vây đến đây. Hồng Nương Tử dùng thương chống đất thở hổn hển nói: vậy còn ngươi cứ việc đi, ta sẽ rời khỏi sau cùng, chặt đứt cầu nổi, đi mau, đừng ở đây vướng chân vướng tay. Dương Phó Hổ, ngươi bản lĩnh đến mấy cũng không biến thành nam nhân được. Triệu Phong Tử ta không nghĩ gì lại đi sau nữ nhân. Đi mau, đại quân chỉ có ta và ngươi chấn áp được, nếu không nhất định sẽ loạn, bị quan binh phân tán tiêu diệt. Đi. Tiếng cuối cùng y cố dốc toàn lực hét lớn. Hồng Nương Tử bị y đẩy mạnh, thân thể đã mệt mỏi cũng không kịp né tránh, nàng dậm chân vội nói: nhân mã còn lại không nhiều nữa, cứ việc san sâu chặt cầu phá vây. Dứt lời, nàng hối hả chạy về phía cầu nổi. Đại quân Dương Lăng đã tới, đứng trên một cồn cát cách bờ sông 1 dặm rưỡi. Dương Lăng dừng ngựa dò xét một lúc rồi vung nhẹ roi ngựa, thản nhiên nói: điều đại cung thủ của chúng ta đến đây, dùng nỏ phong tỏa cầu nổi trên sông, ngăn cản phỉ tặc vượt sông, toàn quân đột kích, diệt hết bọn chúng trên bờ sông. Theo lệnh của Dương Lăng, nỏ lớn vốn dùng để thủ thành ở đầu thành Nam Kinh được đưa lên cồn cát. 4 người phụ trách một chiếc nỏ lớn, tổng cộng 30 chiếc, mỗi chiếc bắn 3 mũi tên nhắm thẳng ngay mặt sông. Triệu Hạo toàn thân đẫm máu, là anh dũng liên tiếp giết 7 quan binh, mọi thứ trước mắt đều biến thành màu đen. Y đã đuối sức, kết quả bị quan binh thừa dịp chém đứt một cánh tay. Y đau đớn hét thảm một tiếng rồi lảo đảo lui về phía sau vài bước,